Saludos, abrazos. Okay, my dear family, so let's start. Today, we're gonna continue the exploration of ourselves, the nature of reality, physical reality, the reality of consciousness, and let's see how much we learn today and get inspired to continue cultivating our most noble potential. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Let's start. We remember all our families and all our human family. May all of us find the stability to be well, especially in the mind and our reactions towards the current situation, now and all the time. May all of us be free from all kinds of suffering, and let's offer this effort that we are putting to cultivate ourselves. May the fruits of this effort be beneficial for many beings, our families, people we know, people we don't know, and as much beings in the universe as possible. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Iti piso bhagava araham sama sambuddho vichacharana sampano sukato lokavedu anutaro purisa dhammasarati satta deva manusanam bhuto bhagavati. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Okay, so welcome everybody, and we're going to start today's exploration, the continuation of the planes of existence. And last week we have already talked about just like a menu, like there are all these kind of different planes, and then we have explored until the human realm last week. So human, manusa, as last week we saw some definition, and we saw, and actually we don't really have to explain too much of how the human realms are, because I think we all know.
We know it quite closely.
And so last week we also talked about the potential as a human, and at the same time the responsibility of making best use of this rare opportunity of being a human. No? So today we are going to start with the other kinds of sugati, the other kinds of happy destination. Now the next one after human being are the devas. So let's go to see the 6 deva realms. So there are 6 kinds of Deva realms, and we'll just make a very short introduction and tell you a little bit of the beings. But there are a lot of information actually, so they are quite interesting. So the first Deva realm, actually the closer to human. Now we're going from bottom to top, no? So it's called the Chatumaharajika. So the Chatumaharajika in English, it would be the world of the 4 great kings. So there are different kinds of beings living in this plane, and so it's like a kingdom, no? So it is said that there are like 4 kingdoms with 4 kings, and those beings that lived under
the rule of
the reign of these kings.
Kind of.
Now here there is an interesting thing, because last week when we talked about Niraya, about
the lower realm,
Alex asked, so there are beings being tortured in those realms, and constantly having a lot of suffering, and basically no happiness at all. And so he asked, and who are those beings that tortured these other beings that are there? And if they tortured those beings, and if they would have bad karma later on as well. And yes, so
We
we
asked our
have
teacher.
a theory, but then we asked our teacher to confirm. And so he explained that it is said in the scriptures that the beings who tortured those beings in the Niraya unexpectedly are actually the Devas from the Chatumaharajika.
There are two kinds.
Yes.
Yeah, the Devas from the Chatumaharajika, that they the Venerable said that often the Devas have also not good karma. So some of the bad karma, they have good karma to born as a Deva, but they also have the bad karma to be interacting and often to be doing this more, generating more akusala karma by doing so.
This we can understand as a human being. Let's say we have good enough resultant karma to be born as a human being, but we do not have enough wisdom to be always doing kusala. No, so sometimes we do bad things, and sometimes we do sometimes we may take people's thing, or sometimes we may say bad things, and sometimes we may even, some people even kill other beings and killing animals. And so it's basically the same thing. Sometimes we have it's interesting because when we say Deva, usually the idea that we have about Deva is, oh, so shiny, and so they're so peaceful and so happy, and everything gets so fine and so nice there, no? So actually there are indeed some higher Deva realms where beings are like how we usually imagine, no? Like a very, very good environment. But Sayadaw said that there are actually in Chatumaharajika is a quite complicated plane, he said. So a little bit like humans, so quite complicated. So there are areas or places where it is not as peaceful. Sometimes Devas that lives there have a worse life than human. It is possible. And they might have less happiness also in those places. So it depends. So those beings in the Chatumaharajika, some of them, they might be beings that are not they have good karma to be born there, like humans, to be born in a good place in the human world, but they also have other bad karmas, and then so for them to have those kind of conditions and opportunities to torture other beings or to do other kinds of akusala, which later on they are going to those karmas are going to give them bad result as well.
Yes, and also as we mentioned last week, Alex, there are also beings that born there, and they actually inflict the suffering and the torture to all the other beings. And as we mentioned, Sayadaw confirmed that those beings actually are generating more akusala karma that will keep them rolling there at least, or even if there are possibilities, going lower than where they are. So there are the two possibilities.
So those beings that belong to the Niraya, and then they are torturing others. So how it works is that sometimes they are torturing others, sometimes they are being tortured. So they are like this.
Does that sound familiar in this realm? Sometimes humans as well torture one another, unfortunately, and we harm each other out of ignorance, out of negativity. The same is true to all this. It's not something so far as we were exploring last week. All these realms, although they may sound fantastic, but if there is this reality over here, what we do to animals or what other beings inflict to another beings just because out of greed or pure negativity, I mean, it's just the same. And as we see here, some animals may have better conditions than some humans. So the same is true for the other realms. Even in higher realms, they have different conditions and very, very varied. Sayadaw, this last Friday with the class, also we are exploring Kama. Fortunately, the same chapter we are heading towards, we are exploring with him, and he's explaining much more details that he didn't give us the first round studying Abhidhamma, because he thought it was a little bit too much. We could get confused because there are many little details about how Kama works, but now he's making them clear in the second or third round we have gone with him. and they are very, very interesting information that we think some of it we will be able to put it into practical terms. So hopefully it gives more power and clarity to our practice, which is the aim of doing all this exploration.
Yes, so like last week also, Eskiel, he also said that how about those tigers that were born into the animal realm, and they have to kill because there are no other choices. So also, Salo also he mentioned that in the same way, those tigers they have good karma to be born into, although they are animals, but they are quite powerful. No, so good karma gives them the power to be more strong or more powerful than other animals. But because of that good karma, also they have to do more bad karmas because they have to kill or they have to harm others. So karma is very complex, and so this chapter is actually very, very interesting. So we're going to explore more about this in these coming weeks. And so for the Deva beings, it's in the same way like the tiger. They have good karma to be born as a Deva, but also because of those powers that they also could torture other beings.
We could be doing bad with their power itself. Like there is in Spanish this saying that is quite funny that says, "En el país de los ciegos, el tuerto es rey." Yeah. So how would we translate that in English? In the country of blind people, the one that has one eye is the king. So the same is true for those lower realms. They have bad karma to born as an animal, but good karma to be the head of the food chain. How you say that? So, but they're still on rolling onto negativity, and the same is true for humans. So actually, karma. Let's open, my dear family, to an unfathomable degree of complexity, and we can see it in the natural world. We can see in between animals their interactions one another, how one take the other in order to survive, and sometimes the same one that was attacked is the attacker of someone else. So it is really, really intricate and beautiful to see how good and bad is very closely knit and interacting one another. Many forces, positive and negative, are generating what we call ourselves right now. Thanks of good and bad actions, we reap sometimes even good actions support bad actions, the bad karma. You will see when we enter the next chapter. We were very surprised 2 weeks ago when Seattle was explaining how bad actions actually how good actions support bad actions. So it is you will see the logic of it. It's really unbelievable, the forces of nature. It's really a mystery.
Yes. Okay, so just that it might be a little bit surprising, but sometimes, yes, there are devas that live a worse life than human. Ben Seattle gave the example that there are pets, house pets, that live a much more comfortable life than some humans. So in the same way, there are devas who live a worse life than humans. And another important point here is that although we might be, if we do kusala, we might be reborn into a good place, a good destination, sugati. But the most important thing is the mind quality. Because even if you are born into a good place, then if the mind quality is low, if the mind quality is not good, then one continue doing akusala. So we just waste the chance. So Seado, he always says that whatever we bring, it's only the mental quality, the mental cultivation. So that's the only thing that we really have to do.
That the only thing that we will move in the realms will be what we cultivate. What we have cultivated is moving, and what we are cultivating right now, and it will be, as we know already, decisive onto the direction and realm that it will be connected according to the credit that we die on this life. In terms of inner cultivation, that's as much credit there is, be it low or high. Immediately nature will just match it for us to continue with the journey in the case that we don't get freed in this life.
Okay, so let's continue. So one of the 6 realms of the Devas is the Chatumaharajika that we have already talked about. Then the next one is called Tawatimsa. This is interesting because this is where actually the Buddha preached the Abhidhamma. The mother of the Buddha, when after one week the Buddha was born, then she passed away, and she was reborn actually in the Tusita heaven. Then the Buddha, in order to
after he got enlightened,
so he wanted to
appreciate to his mother,
his former mother, which was already reborn into a male Deva actually. So she was in the heaven, and then she taught. He taught the Abhidhamma in Tawatimsa heaven, and his former mother came down from Tusita heaven to Tawatimsa heaven to listen to the Buddha's teaching at that time.
Just as a reminder, my dear family, I think we have mentioned before, but the Buddha said that the best thing we can do for our parents is to help them develop in ethics and morality, stability of mind and wisdom, sila, samadhi and panya. The only way that a son or a daughter can be able to repay, if it is possible, the debt we have towards our parents. Thanks to them, we are alive in any way that it could have been. It's by helping them to grow inside, and it's the best gift we can provide to them, because that will follow them even when we separate in this life. Maybe we just met for this life and don't see again. We are individual consciousness moving in the samsara. The best gift that will stay inside is the love for learning, the love for inner cultivation, and the ethics and morality that we can cultivate. So with the same intention, the Buddha wished to bring what he just discovered, the code of nature for his own mother, to previous mother, his last mother he had, to be fully liberated from samsara. That was the intention. So the invitation is clear, is open, and our teachers remind us in any way that we can help or inspire, not by preaching or anything, but in the way our parents know, even inside their belief system, in case it is late, there is not enough flexibility to accept new ideas. We can promote morality, less killing, less lying, less wasting the time, mental time, and how to focus the mind, bring peace. So we can help them and really make contribution for their development in samsara. So we can try that and have that in mind, and often it's possible, and in case it's not possible, it is always possible. There are many ways finding, but in case it is not possible, also to have the equanimity to know, okay, maybe this time is not possible, but by our own actions and mental stability, certainly that will be inspiring. So let's continue trying. Even the Buddha did this in order to give his mother the tools to be able to understand herself and liberate from suffering. And the story says, yes, she applied it and got freed from the samsaric cycle.
Yes. Okay, so Tawatimsa heaven is where the Buddha preached the Abhidhamma. So in this case, how did we get this Abhidhamma? So I think in the beginning of the course, we might have talked about this. Actually, when the Buddha, he was in Tawatimsa heaven giving these teachings to the Devas, but since he was a human being, he has to eat, no? Every day he come back to the human world and had lunch. So Venerable Sariputta would be waiting for him somewhere, and then will offer him lunch. And during the lunchtime, then the Buddha will give a summary to Venerable Sariputta about what he taught in Tawatimsa that day. So,
as a reminder, Venerable Sariputta was the second. The Buddha himself says the one that followed the highest, the disciple that has the highest wisdom, it was Venerable Sariputta. So he was really sharp-minded and understanding the workings of nature. So it was to him that he was explaining what he was. Charna was going to that part. What he was teaching there, he was explaining to Venerable Sariputta.
So since Venerable also has very, very high wisdom, so after he heard what the Buddha said, then he understand. Then after that, then he went to his other 500 disciples, and then he will explain to the disciples. So the Abhidhamma that we are listening is actually
was taught by
from the Buddha to Venerable Sariputta, and from Venerable Sariputta to the other monks. And then later on, and it is kept in the 7 books of the Abhidhamma, which we have not entered yet because we are looking at the Abhidhamma
At the menu,
which is like a comprehensive. It's a menu. It's an introduction to the 7 books of the Abhidhamma.
The table of contents.
Yes.
And one thing, after the Buddha died, Venerable Sariputta was the one in charge of keeping the 3rd basket. You know, in the teaching of the Buddha, the Tipitaka, 3 baskets. There is the code for the Vinaya, the discipline for the monastics and for lay people. The Sutta, which is all the discourses where the Buddha explained specifically to the person according to their tendency and ability. Sometimes he spoke the same thing in many different levels and ways.
And then also depend on what the person needs, you know.
Yeah, what the person needed.
He's like a doctor. In the case, if the person has headache, he's not going to talk about what to do with the knee or what to do with something else, so only specific points. So usually then you may find sometimes that there are, why the Buddha said like there are 3 things here, and then the same thing he said 4 things in the other sutta and 5 things in another sutta, is because that person, he only needed that 3 to understand, and the other person, he needed 4 to understand, needed 5 to understand. So therefore, depending on the person, so therefore suttas, our teacher always said that, I think Bhante will also go there, that without Abhidhamma, we cannot understand sutta properly.
Yes, like any teacher will do, the teacher must adapt to the student, what the student needs, where the student is, and what is the next step that the student is requiring. Not too difficult for him or her to get unmotivated, and not too easy, so also he cannot grow. So we must find, as parents or as teachers, if we find ourselves in that position, we must find that very soft spot. What is challenging enough to continue motivating, inspiring, challenging the people to do something? Not too much, not too little. So the Buddha was extreme. You will see in the suttas how skillful he was. Of course, imagine his understanding and empathy. He will really feel where the people was, and he will just give precisely, with such a clarity and accuracy, the very thing that person needed. And in many occasions, as you will read in the suttas, the people just got enlightened because they just got the last drop that they needed for the wisdom glass to spill over and be purified. So that's for that. And in the Abhidhamma, as we know, he explained the medical field, how reality works regardless of who is listening. He's just explaining. So with these 3 baskets, this is the point that I'm going, the Tipitaka, Venerable Sariputta was the one that after the death of the Buddha took responsibility of it, and all the monks who came after him were carrying the responsibility, memorizing all of this by heart, because there was no writing at that time. And there, thanks to them, to this line of the Venerable Sariputta and all the monks he trained, we have still all this map and information. Later on, with the next councils, as we saw before, all the monks from all the traditions, Buddhist traditions, came together and agreed that this was what the Buddha taught from the very
and they were in the first council.
All arahants and high teachers, they agreed. That's why we have now the three baskets. Although it's a fact that it was Venerable Sariputta, the steward, the one who hold it and carry it. But anyway, the medicine and the map is there, and I do trust very much in people. If someone discover a path, another one who follow the path and arrive can easily tell us how to arrive there, because he already knew the map, walked the path, and arrived. We don't need to have the how you call the one who discovered the other world, the pioneer. The pioneer may be dead, but he left the map. So we can trust in all of us, and the map is still alive. And many teachers are continuing walking and discovering the truths of it. So let's before we get into, you will find maybe controversies and people that wants to argue and saying yes or no. Let's walk. We need to walk and show them these are the tools. Anybody must be responsible, and let's continue walking, my dear family. We are not interested in getting onto arguments about if the medicine works or not. We better try the medicine and prove that in their direct experience that it's already giving us fruits to all of us. So let's continue with it. Yeah.
So Tawatimsa, and then the next Devariam is called the Yama. It is translated as the plane of great happiness. So in these places, I imagine from here upwards will be the usual like Devariam that we imagined. Like it is very nice places.
What we call Deva, yeah.
What we call normally. Tusita is the next one, and here is interesting also because Tusita heavens are actually where all the bodhisattvas are always reborn. Bodhisattva, be careful, meaning only the Buddha to be. So in the next life, that they will become the Buddha. I mean, this last life. So let's say our Buddha Gautama, before he was born into the human realm as Gautama, then he was in Tusita heaven. So one life before, they always reborn into the Tusita, and then when the world is ready, then they are reborn into the world, and then they become the Buddha here in the human realm.
So apparently, the teacher says that the Buddha that is coming, the next one, is already there. Continue his cultivation, and when the teaching is gone here, unfortunately, it will go. As we have spoken before, there will come the time of darkness. Then he will reborn in the human realm and reignite the wheel of Dhamma, and the teaching will happen again. And in case we don't liberate on this cycle, we will have opportunity, hopefully. Hopefully we don't arrive there, but in case not, hopefully we have contact with the next Buddha so we can continue cultivating what we're planting right now so it can sprout and flourish, give the fruit of liberation.
Yes, Alex has a question.
Yes, Don Alex, go on. Turn on your mic, please. Welcome.
Thank you, Bante and Charan. I actually have like 1,000 questions, but I will begin with this one.
Bring them on.
Regarding the Tusita Dewa realm, what about the Tibetan Buddhism vows that relate to bodhisattvas? When these monks pass away and they actually rebirth in human realm, even if they made the vows and probably took all their life in efforts to become a bodhisattva, they don't necessarily rebirth in the Tusita realm.
Yes,
is it?
That's what I'm trying to explain right now. It's the last life before
it's
they
the last
become
before.
Buddha.
So they are continue getting rebirths in the different realms, animal realm, human realm, many. They are continuing. This is the next Buddha, the last one. His next life, he's gonna be the next Buddha. All the other bodhisattvas who have made the vows, they are in line. Who knows in which place on the line? Like when we're gonna buy something on the market, who knows where all the other bodhisattvas are on the line? But this is the one that is coming. The very next one. It is that one. When they are ready and almost ripen, they know the next life. They have all the paramis are fulfilled in order to become the Buddha. Then they kind of go to the Tusita heaven. They
just
wait.
Naturally,
they will reborn because their mental qualities. They will die and then just reborn human realm to become the Buddha. All the other ones.
Not yet.
All the other ones not yet, and they will be rolling, and that's part of the deal they made with the vow of trying to become a bodhisattva. They will postpone their personal wish. They will postpone, or maybe one of them have done the vow. They will postpone their self-enlightenment in order to cultivate, to be able to rediscover the Dhamma again, to become a Samma Sambuddho, not the same as an Arahant or normal people in life. Is that clear?
Okay, yes, totally clear. Thank you very much.
Something else, Don Alex.
Does the Buddha speak about that? Like he talked about
Bodhisattvas, yes. Does he speak about the bodhisattvas and their
Yes. Yes, actually all what we know came through his explanations. So in different areas, he expressed his previous life, how he did it, and how it was. And there is some, if you are interested in knowing more about it, there are some tales. It's called the Jataka tales. That means the previous births of before becoming a Buddha, where the Buddha himself described what happened, what kind of lives, what things he needed to do in order to develop the paramis, and how he arrived to the end, waiting to see the heaven, and then the next life he became the Buddha, and by himself he explained. Look for them, it's called Jataka tales. Many things to learn, and we have had teachers who are fond of it and have explained to us some of the things. Everything is there. Yes, Alex.
And also, I think one point to clarify, it would be important, is that in Theravada text, whenever you see the word Bodhisattva, most of the time, it always refers to the Buddha to be, that is Gautama the Buddha before he became the Buddha. It is not like any single person that wished to become a Buddha of some time. So those are not called bodhisattvas in Theravada terms. Only the Buddha, before he became the Buddha, he was the bodhisattva, and then he became the Buddha. So if you see the word bodhisattva, most of the time it's referring to the previous life of the Gautama the Buddha himself.
And also as a reminder, many differences will be found regarding how the Mahayana and Tibetan branches of Buddhism treat the concept of Bodhisattva. There will be some differences, but in short, that will be it. In Theravada, it's just the next Buddha and the Buddha himself before getting enlightened. Mm-hmm. You will see very, very interesting. It's very beautiful to see this heroic vow that people take to continue in this cycle of samsara in order for all beings to be liberated by rediscovering the teaching.
One important point here to clarify is that the Buddha himself, he became the Bodhisattva in the life when he was when he was with the name Sumedha, 4 Asankheya 100,000 kapas before he became the Buddha. So that those eons past life. So he became the Buddha in that life when he got the prediction. When he got the prediction from an existing Buddha of that time. Then from that moment on, he became the Bodhisattva. So in Theravada, one must get the prediction
from the previous Buddha. From a living Buddha says, you are the next Buddha.
You are going to be the next Buddha.
He sees the potential, and that person is ready to get enlightened and then postpone his enlightenment. So that differs with the vows that happen sometimes in a massive way in some branches of Mahayana Buddhism. It is not, the teacher said, the vows of altruism and service to humanity are done. The intention is there, but really, in order for a person to be called a bodhisattva, must be predicted and seen by the previous Buddha. Who knows if someone has been there? But they take it a little bit with much more care how it is done, because of the implications that the people sometimes. I am not sure if people who takes the vows of Bodhisattva really know much lives and effort that will take in order to cultivate such depth of wisdom. There are some of the differences.
Yeah, there are requisites for a person to become a Bodhisattva. So in that very life, when he became a Bodhisattva, he would already have all the paramis to become an Arahant. Mm-hmm. Already he must, but then he didn't, and then so he got the prediction from the Buddha and of an existing previous Buddha. No, so there are many requisites, and to complete all those, then a person can be called a Bodhisattva.
And once the Bodhisattva is called by a Buddha, his next lives or rebirths are always in one of the upper realms?
No. He will
never go to Nireya.
He will just not go down. But in up, he's gonna be animal many times, human many times. He will be killed. His eyes, you will see in the Jataka tales, his eyes, in order, one time the Buddha, for example, one of the stories, the Buddha to be the Bodhisattva, was expressing equanimity, and there was one king beside and say, yes, monk, you very equanimous?
Okay, let's see.
Okay, let's see if you're equanimous. I will take your eyes out. And the Buddha says, yes, go ahead. Well, the Buddha to be, the Bodhisattva to be. So you hear some stories that you say, no way. Like, in order to cultivate, well, you will see in the Jataka tales.
And all this.
Now, in order to to give up your enlightenment, you must have it almost ready.
Mhm.
Because if a Putujana like all of us, or like me, I will speak just by myself, I am far from it. I am still carrying a lot of attachment, a lot of aversion, and a lot of ignorance. If right now I take, okay, I postpone my what do I give up? I still need to cultivate a lot. That's how I see myself. First, clean, work oneself. Then when we are in position to be able to say, yes, I'm ready to get enlightened. I'm up one step and I get enlightened. I take the vow and I will go forward. Then when I am there, I will let, if in case, hopefully soon, I will let you know how the decision is hard or difficult.
Well, so yeah, so
Yes.
How is possible for all the realms to interact between or among them? Like the previous mother of the Buddha to come from Tusita to Tabatinsana,
Mhm.
or to these devas that go to hell and torture some sentient beings, or like we perceive animals already in the human realm.
Yes.
Mhm.
But some other things, like for example, what about hell or asuras or beta beings interacting with humans? Is that possible?
Yes.
Okay.
You-
So,
You have heard stories about these
not all.
possessions, about some beings from other realms that got into humans and kind of mess with them. Is that possible? Is all possible in the scriptures?
Yeah, you remember the powers of the Abhinyas, the supernormal powers. Even as a humans, we could be able not just to see with Deva Chaku or Deva Sota, with that we just crossed recently. We could be able to see them and even interact. And actually, as I mentioned before, in the monastic code, there are some rules on guidance for monks in case they happen to start interacting with other kinds of beings. Even in the monastic code, we have some rules that, as I have mentioned before, and on what to do in case a monk gets in contact because of their mental stability with other types of beings. Actually, it's possible. And let's remember that they arrive there, and Brahma specifically, they will have that very close capability to do so because their mind is much more developed than a human mind in terms of the good side of the Deva, no?
Yes, like Bhante said, with Abhinya, it is possible also.
Even to move physically to those places.
And there are humans that doesn't have Abhinya, but sometimes they may see other beings. Then this is our teacher says that if those devas or if those petas or if those other beings wish to show themselves, then it is possible. Then human might see them. So it is possible, but it doesn't happen like very often, no. So sometimes also like there are devas like who are kind people, who are nice people that they can help, or there are also bad guys that they sometimes make jokes or do things, no. So in the scriptures you will find stories. I don't know if you want to listen to
Story
stories.
time. I also have one story for that. You will see two stories.
So
I hope it's not the same one. Go
we'll
ahead.
see.
Go ahead.
So, well, I don't remember exactly all the details, but more or less, then it shows like what happened. No, so there were two monks. They are very good friends. They are very, very good friends, and so they were traveling together one time, and then they trust each other, and they are so kind to each other. And so some naughty devas, then they will say, really, are they really so nice? They really have such confidence in each other, and say, okay, let's trick them. Let's make a test.
Let's challenge. Let's test these guys, these monks.
Yeah, let's test them. Then so the one of the monks, he said that please wait for me. I need to go to the toilet. No, so they were traveling. So this monk, he went inside the bush to do what he needed to do, and then so the devas during this time they create a vision of a to the other monk of a lady coming out from the bush, and like
arranging herself like this.
So it is fake. It is a vision created by the Deva.
By the Devas.
Then when the other monk finished his toilet and then he came out,
and
then
the
other monk was said, where have you been? What have you done? It said, and he said, well, I went to the toilet. And then the other monk said, no, I saw everything. And he got very angry, and then he said that you have broken the rules, and you are not worthy of my respect, and I'm not going to talk to you anymore.
I'm not going to
then
follow you and all
then
that.
he's gone. Then the other monk was like, what? And so anyway, okay, then they were not friends anymore, no? Then after many years, then this many years, maybe a few minutes for the Devas, no? So the Devas, they regret. They say, well, they are actually good people. They are trying to cultivate, and now we made them like enemy with each other, and they're not friendly with each other anymore. So this is not nice of us. Maybe we should tell them. Then so this is Deva. They went and said, actually, I'm so sorry. Actually, it was not true. We just wanted to try if you were really friends with each other, and so we made a trick and some, well, whatever. So the story. Then later on, the monks, they concealed with each other. They one another. They became friends again. But that was after a long time, no. So it was like those naughty Devas.
They can interact apparently, and if a person dies with attachment, it is said by the teachers that they may stay in the same realm. We cannot see them, but they are still hanging because of the attachment that was so strong. The peta, yeah. Mm-hmm. Finish.
Yeah. One thing. Then now that we are seeing about the Chatu Maharajika Devas, it is said that in the scriptures that those Devas, they share the same realms with us. Then they might live in the forest or some solitary places and like this. So Tawatimsa, they are like half. They call earthbound being.
Earthbound being Devas.
Earthbound, so they are a little bit higher, but they are still kind of like in a higher place. So it's not at space yet, but it's like a little bit close to the earth still. Then from Yama onwards, and all those beings, they Devas, they live on space. They don't live.
They're not earthbound.
Yeah, and then from the lower realm, they are all earthbound.
Okay, I will tell you another small story. The first time I got ordained, it was in 2004. So I went to the monastery as teacher. I wished to get ordained. I was 26 or something. And then and he said, yes, possible. He knew I knew a little bit about the practice, what needed to be done. He asked me if I knew the ways of monks. And then I said, yes, I would like to. And then, okay, so let's ordain you. When I asked the teacher, there was a family there, and they listened that I wish to get ordained, so they became my padrinos. How to say, my
supporters.
my supporters. They say, okay, we are so grateful that you want to ordain. We will donate your robes, your shoes, your bowl, everything. They gave me everything. So I was really the first time I felt so much generosity from. I didn't know how deep it was. So I felt it was unbelievable. They gave me everything, and they were like my godmother, godfather, spiritual godmother, godfather, providing all what I need to become a monk. Okay, next day I had beard at that time and hair, and then I shave everything. Boom, boom. Next day I go to the ceremony, and then when you are going to get ordained, there are 4 questions that are asked to you. If one of these 4 questions is not positive, you cannot become ordained. Okay. One of the question is, do you have debt in the human life, lay life? And then no, I don't have debt. Do you have military service? Because in the past, some people run away from debt, become a monk, and then when people comes to ask them for the money, where is my money? I said, oh, I don't know. Now I don't touch money. I am a monk. Something. So that's one of the questions. But okay, fine with these questions. You can understand them. But there is one question, my dear family. When they ask it, I couldn't believe. I mean, we are in the monastery. The eldest monk is sitting there, and the monks are around. They are not joking. And then the last question they ask me, I stand up and they ask me, are you a human being? What? Am I a human being? Have anybody seriously asked you that question? Are you a human being? I couldn't believe he was asking. It was so sober. It was so deep for me, what I was doing, that I really stood for a little while and think, am I a human being? Really? Am I a human being? And then I look to the master, and then I say, Seado, yes, as far as I can tell, I told him, as far as I can tell, I'm a human being. Okay, we can ordain you. Boom, boom, boom. The ordination, they give you your robes. They make the ceremony, the chanting. It takes longer. I won't go into details. Later on, I go with the teacher. I say, teacher, what was that? How come you ask a person if you are a human being? Then he explained me the story, and this has to do with interaction with other realms, and it comes as follows. There are some kind of beings in the universe that are called yakas, nagas.
They are
So,
the beings from the Chatu Maharajikas.
They are beings from the Chatu Maharajikas. So that beings, those kind of beings, because they have very light matter, they can change and transform. Even as humans, we can do it. We can get thinner, we can get fatter, we do things with matter. But they can do it just by thought, and we can also, as humans, with jhanas and abhiññas, can do so. Mm-hmm. So there was one of these beings which apparently have the similar qualities of reptiles. Apparently those kind of beings have this kind of qualities similar to reptiles, that he wishes to learn the Dhamma. He saw the benefit of the Dhamma, and he wants to become a monk. So those beings can modify their appearance. So that Naga became a human being. Go and ask the same as I did, teacher, I would like to learn the Dhamma.
That time they don't ask whether they're human.
Yes, they don't ask this question before. They go in the time of the Buddha, I want to learn the Dhamma, very valuable, I want to liberate from. But he is from the other, but they have qualities that they cannot handle. When they are in the state of reptilian side, they cannot handle these kind of qualities.
It's like when they are, the original form of themselves is, let's say, like a snake. No, like these beings. But then, with their power, then they can make their appearance look like a human. But they must be consciously like putting effort into making
onto
that.
It. So what happens? Yes, they ordain the new monk. He comes there. The question comes in. But apparently, these beings, when they, as Charana just mentioned, when they release the attention to be holding that appearance, they come back into their appearance. So those beings, when they are sleeping, they become what they are. So these reptilian qualities. So you can imagine in the dorm of monks, some monks come in, the Naga is sleeping. He's not taking care of holding the human form. And then the monks arrive, and there is this being over there which they just ordained. Maybe imagine a snake or a crocodile with ropes or something there. So then the monks come running towards the Buddha and said, the Buddha, there is this kind of being on the kuti. It grew so much it broke the kuti. And then the Buddha, oh my God, okay. So from then on, they explained this Naga that actually it is only fortunate for human beings because we live in this. That's why the Buddhas decide to come here, because we are pliable. We know suffering and happiness, so we are in the best position to cultivate ourselves. So from that time on, that question still is happening today, my dear family. If you wish to explore, to be ordained temporarily as you wish, when you are ready for that question, they will ask you, are you a human being? And they ask you the question a few times. Are you a human being? Imagine, they ask you, they are serious. And then you say yes. Also, they ask you, are you a male? Because also in the past, same as Mulan, one lady also wished to join the monastic order. They were not nuns yet. She wished to join the order. She came in, and you can imagine what could have happened in the dorms, or not that nothing happens, but imagine the interaction. It was quite difficult. Then later on, the nuns appear, and then still now it's possible to get ordained, but they are generally separated in order to not to cultivate attachment and desire. So, my dear family, stories. Yes, my dear Alex. As far as that, the realms can interact. And there are a few more stories, very beautiful, where all the beings appreciate the depths of the Dhamma and they wish to be close to it, and they went too far.
Yeah, one very, very, very last story, very quickly.
Okay, we're story time.
Yeah, today. So there were some monks in the times of the Buddha. Then they wanted to practice, and then they are almost getting ready for enlightenment. So the Buddha said that they go to the forest and then practice there. So these monks, they went to the forest and then they practiced. But then there were beings and they was living in that forest, and then they didn't like the monks to be there, because it was like we're living here, and then some a whole bunch of monks and then come here and then they're staying around doing it. So they didn't like them, and so they were creating visions or doing tricks, and so disturbing them, let's say.
Sounds. And the monks get
making
the monks
like,
were very scared.
Yeah, so then those monks, they went back to the Buddha and said, the Buddha, we cannot practice anymore. It's very scary, that forest, we cannot stay there. Then the Buddha said, okay, yeah, I know. So that's when the Buddha taught the Metta Sutta.
The Metta Sutta was because of those interactions between all the kinds of beings and humans. So the Buddha says, Karaniya, the Buddha told them, okay, you go back to the
learn this and practice.
Go back to the forest and you recite this. Karaniya Mata Kusalena Yantam Santan. This is what should be done. One wife who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace, let them be able and upright. And they start sending loving kindness to all beings. So in that moment, the other beings understood that they were coming in peace, and they finally stayed and liberated. So my dear family, the Metta Sutta was
taught
preached because of that interaction between the different kinds of beings and realms.
And actually, those after the monks went back and they were very peaceful and they were chanting, and then the Devas become very fond of these monks, and they actually helped them and create a very comfortable place for them. And so those monks that they practiced and they got enlightened.
Imagine such a beautiful, close to our hearts teaching, which is the practice of metta, was done because of such situations. And still now, when a new monastery in Burma, when a new monastery or a house is inaugurated, sometimes they invite monks to go to the house and recite some paritas, which are blessings, protections. This is one of the main protections, because it was precisely done to say, we come in peace, we will live in peace, we just want to practice and cultivate inside. We spread loving kindness to all kinds of beings. That's why in the Metta Sutta, it says, seeing and unseen. The beings that we can see and cannot see, we come in peace, we send loving kindness, we don't want to harm, we just want to cultivate goodness. So imagine something so close was because of that interaction. How beautiful, no? Mm-hmm. Okay, my dear family. It is very nice to see you all. It's like being in the same living room in different countries. Abrazos. I love you. Best wishes.
And it's quite nice now that we have been studying the Abhidhamma for like a year or so, and with all the facts and all the numbers and all the process and all these things. And now we can arrive to a little bit of stories in the times of the Buddha and what happened, and with the things that we already know, then it's also nice sometimes.
Yes, because imagine you come to study Buddhism, and maybe somebody who is new or just come, you arrive to a place and then you start, okay, let's start teaching Buddhism by looking at the Nagas and the stories and the snakes and all these things and the Devas. I mean, people will say, what the heck is this? They told me Buddhism was about understanding reality and to get in touch with nature. Yes, my dear family, we don't recommend don't open these things yet to someone who doesn't have previous information. How nature works, consciousness.
Why is it possible?
Why is it possible? The capabilities of nature. Otherwise, people will get very.
It's just like other stories.
More stories, more heavens, more hells. Come on, go. Remember that beyond this, we need to go through this chapter, because we need to understand karma deeply. We will go through it. We will not forget about it. I just keep it on the mind. But this is not the most important. The most important is inner cultivation and how to become a better human being with the capabilities we have. Be very careful as you share the Dhamma. I will strongly suggest not to go into these topics yet until people has enough background information. Otherwise, everybody, it's okay. Energy, okay.
Yes.
Yes? Continue or want to take a little break? Marifer has a question?
A little bit of time for a Deva, it's maybe many years for a human.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So time rules other planes? I mean, maybe different time, but time rules
Yes.
as well?
Yes.
You will see. You will see chapter number 6. How long they live?
Oh no, chapter 5 actually. This chapter maybe next week.
See chapter 5.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So actually, beings, their lifespan, because of the quality of the material quality that each different planes, the different beings have, they live their lifespan. It's different. Let's say the most easy to understand is like a butterfly. Maybe they live for 2 days or 3 days. A butterfly. And then an ant, maybe a mosquito, maybe they live for 1 day, 24 human hours. Then so time itself does not change like the unit of
there
time.
are different kinds of time. There is only one sense of, if we can
Yeah,
call it time. I don't know what time is.
Let's say we
that
can say
thing.
cheetah time, like the mind arises and passes away, like 17 moments, like arise and pass away for the process. So let's count like these times, no? Like, so in terms of human times, it's like let's say we have 24 hours a day and a month, and so 1 year or like that. So in other realms, they also have their time, but because their lifespan is so much longer, they can live millions of human years. So so let's say that So let's say that 1 day in the Deva realm, also in different Deva realm, the lifespan is different. But in one of the Deva realms, 1 day for them is 50 human years, 50.
Okay.
So the time is the same, and imagine the same way we see insects. If Devas can see humans, they can see that we
live
born
2 days.
and live very 2 days for them, and then we die very quickly. So they have different. And why is that so? It's because let's remember that they have different degree of physical density, matter density. So that's why they are called Rupa and Arupa beings, soft, or how in English,
material.
fine material beings. So they have less thing to pull them down towards gravity, and that can be decomposed. We humans are very fleshy. We are easily decomposable. If we don't shower ourselves every day, we smell very quickly. So we are decomposing much faster than those beings. That's why they have less physicality to it, so they can live much longer.
Yes.
So one time we made a calculation, because the Buddha explained how long they live and their sense of time. And for the Devas, the Buddha died a few days ago, actually. Yeah. So they saw the Buddha a few days ago, and then for us it's 2,600 years, because we are very small beings, arising and passing away, born and dying very quickly. But for them, they knew the Buddha 2 days ago, something like that. It's like, we just saw him preaching here. It's very close to in terms of their time. And for Brahmas, there is also different. When we arrive to that chapter, you will see the explanation of how long and under what physical and consciousness circumstances do they live. Actually, physically, because consciousness, we have already experienced what kind of possibilities they have in their mental flow. Mm-hmm. Yes, Fer. Something else, Marifer, is it clear?
Yes, just another one.
Yes.
Later, Fer has a question.
Mm-hmm. Okay, this is like such a huge place, and the universe keeps growing and growing. So I was wondering, why do we share space with all these different beings? I mean, how many consciousnesses are that we need to share this little place, and there's like so much.
There are different world systems.
It's not little.
Yeah, and there are different world systems as well. So in this planet, there are human beings, and there are all these other beings, and in other worlds, there are also beings, and also other beings of other realms. Yes. You get what I you know that I mean. Did I make myself clear? So in this world system, then there exists different realms of different varieties of beings, no? But in other world systems, there are also other humans, maybe, or other beings.
Yeah, it's not small. What if this is not the only universe? Mm-hmm. Which science is already seriously tackling that question, because when they make mathematics, when they make calculations, in order to try to get a sense of where matter goes, once we know it appears here and we know it disappears here, we certainly know that is proven. But then the question comes, where all this matter goes? Where is all this matter that is disappearing from here, or where the one that is appearing is coming from? Well, when they, as far as I understand, when they make their own calculations, the only way for that thing to start making sense, they start requiring more dimensions than the ones we are used to. We are used to 3 dimensions, but then the 4th and the 5th, and they need, I think, up to 11, or I don't know how the number is going. And it is surprising how science is starting to ponder the very thing that the Buddha explained 2,600 years ago. He said, actually, there are many world systems, that's how he called them, but you can consider as different universes and dimensions happening at the same time, and folding together and interlapping, and there are possibilities of exchange of energy, be it in the form of tangible, solid waves of vibration or consciousness itself. Definitely among them, the Buddha was unequivocally expressing that the flow of consciousness in terms of the flow of energy in the form of consciousness definitely is an open possibility that can be changing from side to side in all these world systems. And don't worry, we might feel a little bit constricted now because we are only in our home, but the universe is big. There are a lot of things and a lot of possibilities. Nature is really amazing. How do you feel by now? Okay?
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay, very good. Don Fer, adelante.
I just remember a story, now that is a story time, about a couple in heaven
Yes.
that the female Deva started getting the signs of dying, that is like sweating and
Yes.
her garments got soiled and so on.
Mhm.
So in one morning, she suddenly disappeared. She reconnected as a human being, a woman. But she remembered her previous life as a Deva. So she got married eventually, but she remembered her husband in heaven. And the husband in the human realm was not like he did not keep Sila. I don't remember if he was like drunk or mean or something. But she used to speak very highly of her husband, but she was thinking of her
previous husband.
Yeah, and she did like very good deeds, and at the end she died. I guess like
as a human, yeah.
Lifespan of human like 80 years or something.
Yeah.
And this was the next day for her husband in heaven. So her husband in heaven said when he saw her, "Oh, where have you been? I have not seen you since yesterday."
Yeah.
Then she tells, "Oh, all this happened to me. I died, and I was this human being, and blah blah blah." So this is like another example of the different times in the realms, how a whole human life can be a day for them.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
so since she remembered her heavenly life there, and she has the attachment. She wants to be reborn there again, no?
Then she
reconnected. That's why she did a lot of kusala, and because of this kusala, so she was reborn again into where she was before her one life ago, no? So she met her husband again.
So imagine he says, "Oh, I thought you went only to the 7-Eleven. Oh no, I had a family, I had a husband, I died, and I had a house and all this in the human realm." Okay, anyway, no, don't worry. Welcome home again.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. Yes. Ezequiel has a question. Go ahead. Oh, you raise a hand, no, Ezequiel?
Thank you, Bante.
Okay, go ahead.
Last class, we were shown this picture of the struggle between the Devas and the Devas Asuras, remember?
Yes.
And when I saw that picture, that triggered a whole set of memories, because that is everywhere in Southeast Asia. It's in Bangkok's airport, it's in big temples in Cambodia, Angkor Wat,
yes.
Burma, etc.
Yes.
And they did the struggle between the good and the bad. So it's a big thing, and it's a really important thing. So where is that located in all this, Timsa and Yama.
That should be in Chatu Maharajika.
Say that again?
Chatu Maharajika, the lowest Deva
The
realms.
lowest.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Where you are? Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just wondering because again, it seems to be something important. I mean, they assign to this struggle strong symbolic, significance. So can you say one or two things about that symbology and the type of beings that are on either side, these devas and these devas asuras? This is the first time that I have, a more technical exposure to that. I mean, before I just learned about
cultural, yes. One of the things when you ask where is it, apparently in terms of location, some of those kind of beings are even sharing the same earth, the same earth. The ones are earthbound, the ones that Charana was explaining, some of them are earthbound. So we know in both sides, either in the lower realms and in the upper realms, in terms of devas, there are descriptions of some kind of devas that like to live in forest. They do like, and the ones we were mentioning for the Metta Sutta, the ones that didn't like the monks to arrive and then they were starting to do some sounds and then they make peace. These are the kinds of devas that are earthbound, the ones that Charana was explaining. Some of them are earthbound. So we know in both sides, either in the lower realms and in the upper realms, in terms of devas, there are descriptions of some kind of devas that like to live in forest. They do like, and the ones we were mentioning for the Metta Sutta, the ones that didn't like the monks to arrive and then they were starting to do some sounds and then they make peace. These are the kinds of devas that live in the forest. Also, it is said and known and expressed by teachers that, for example, people who die with attachment, they do stay in another kind of vibration, not the same physical vibration, but the consciousness continue reborning in a lower realm, and they stay as hungry ghosts, or as they call them, and they still continue here attached to the thing that they were attached before, generally around their house, around their ex-family, something. And then also there are some descriptions in terms, this is a personal speculation, there are some descriptions that people that lives in very hot environments and very pressured. So as we know, even in the under the sea where the volcanoes are spewing lava, even in that places, life has been found. Organic life has been found. Some kind of shrimp or something, or even microbial kinds of beings. So even inside the earth, as we know it, there are many kinds and types of possibilities for biological life. So sometimes I wonder, because maybe we humans like to paint things similar to our perception. Mm-hmm. So even in Catholicism, we said that God made us according to his own image. And sometimes I think, man, I'm not impressed by that. If we are the same image of God, man, I'm not impressed at all. But anyway, there are some kind of beings that might be not in the sense of having a human form and living under the ground, but these descriptions are very likely to be happening in this very hot, very pressured, very painful conditions, and we know that there is life. So some of them are considered to be here, but the ones that start releasing more and more from matter, there can be not earthbound or planet-bound, because this is not the only earth as well. Going back to the question a little bit of Marifer, the space is so big, and we must be really open, knowing that this is not the only possibility. As long as matter, liquid water and minerals get together, life happens, and that is a fact that is happening. Billions and trillions of possibilities in the universe. So might be here, might be further in this realm, sharing and interacting or not. There are many possibilities, and as we go further in this very chapter, we will see how it becomes a little bit clearer, as much as we can, because even for us or the teachers, I suppose, well, I just can't just speak for ourselves. After having this contact with this information since more than a decade, you still have wonder about the magical or wonderful nature of nature. It is unbelievable. But the possibilities for life are great, even in this planet. It's unbelievable, the species and conditions of life that biology can adapt to. So
yes, and just a little bit to touch the what you talked about good and bad, like between good and bad. Actually, there is no, because those devas, they even they have good nature, they are not enlightened, so they also have possibilities of akusala. So we cannot say that those are they are the good, and then those devas that have some bad qualities that they are the bad, because they have good qualities as well. Otherwise, they would not be born into those kind of realms. So I would say that if it is something, because everybody can understand those paintings in the way that they look at it, that if you look at it in a way of the battle between good and bad, then it is inside of us, because there is kusala and there is akusala. We need to cultivate our goodness and try to eliminate the bad quality inside of us, so it's not something outside.
In those depictions, as Charana mentioned, there is no we have after now we understand it better. There is no battle in between the realms. This one thing, it's just normal negativity and positivity inside individuals, and the interaction between them that causes blessings or hell. We can generate hell for our own family if we are really negative and even violent, as unfortunately is happening in this very moment in many houses in our planet. We can be the source of generating hell for others. So actually, no quest, no fight, but only normal interaction between individual goodness, kusala or akusala sense, and it that in itself develops the human drama. But there is no plan or one that wants to invade the other one. Only greed does what it does, anger does what it does, love and wisdom does what it does. So we have, unfortunately, the option to attune to any side. The possibility for all of us to do both is there. It is our responsibility to attune to each of the qualities of nature. Yes.
Okay.
That speaks, because when I first saw those pictures, what I thought is, well, the good guys are the devas, and then the bad guys must be the demons. I mean, the first underworld. And what you say is there's no struggle between good and bad.
No.
It's more kusala and the akusala, and both are devas, right? And both coexist. Is that right?
Yes. Well, there are also like humans fight each other. Like devas also, they also fight each other. So it could be a picture that they were fighting. But if we are talking about kusala or akusala, then it is possibilities for unenlightened beings to have kusala and akusala, no? So therefore, if we see it in that way, then it is more important that we take care of our own mind in that way. But truly, beings fight. Animals also fight. So they will fight as well. So
they fight because of their nature, not because there is a cosmic quest. And I think those kind of ideas definitely are reinforced by our previous religious cultural conditioning, which is the fight between the devil and the angels. Oh no, they are fighting, they're just being themselves. Even the angels can do bad.
They are.
So okay, so I think that's it.
Should we continue?
We continue a little bit.
Yeah.
Yes.
So also just last information, Tusita heavens where the bodhisattvas are born, and it is apparently that this Tusita heavens is like a Dhamma world for those beings. In that places, the beings are fond of the Dhamma. So that's why bodhisattvas are born there. Environment is good. There are people that is practicing and studying and in those realms in the Tusita heaven. Okay, so next is called Nimanarati. So this in these realms, and those beings, they delight in their own creation. So those are the places where beings, those devas, they have enough power to create what they want, what they like. So like they create houses or palaces or whatever, like places or anything that they wish to enjoy, they can create by themselves. Then in the next one is called Paranimita Vasawati, is the highest Deva realm, and these devas there, even they don't create by themselves, but they have someone create for them. So let's say like a even richer person. So I don't have to build a house by myself. I have some carpenters build my house or something like that. No, so they don't even have to do the work. So these are the different kinds of realms, 6 Deva realms, and the most important thing actually is like how does this being arrived to this Deva realm? why did they reborn there? It is actually because of great morality and because of generosity. That is because of kusala karma. It's only because of the result of kusala then beings are reborn into the Deva realms. But as we said already, like beings can do kusala with or without wisdom. Yes, so the mental quality is not defined by how much good a person do, because some people, they are generally, they are naturally good. They like to help others, or they are generous, but that doesn't mean that they are very wise sometimes. No, some of them may be very wise as well. So there are beings who are born there with the good deeds, but if they do not have enough mental cultivation, then they can still do bad there. And they can still also other unwholesome resultants can also arise there, and they can also suffer in different kinds of life. But to be reborn into these realms is because of great morality and because of generosity. So by doing a lot of by keeping the sila very well, and by being very generous, then beings with kusala karma, usually they are reborn there because of this kusala karma. Okay, now we have seen the 4 lower planes and 1 human and 6 devas. These are all karma vachara sense sphere. So those are like beings with constantly getting in touch with sense, with the senses, no, like with the sense objects, no, the kamavachara planes. So in the kamavachara plane, it is divided into 2 groups. That is the dugati, the unhappy destination, the place where beings suffer a lot, and they are reborn there because of akusala karma, akusala vipaka, unwholesome resultant. And then in another division of the sense plane, which is human and devas, it is considered a happy destination. So beings that sometimes they suffer, but it is they have also happiness, no? So they are called the sugati, happy destination. But both of them belongs to the sense sphere. Now let's go to the next group, which is the rupa vachara, the fine material plane. So there are 16 fine material planes. And then we have another group, arupa vachara, the non-material plane, and 4 non-material, 4 planes in this non-material group. So now we'll go to the rupa vachara first. Now there are 16 rupa vachara planes. So how does beings arrive to the rupa vachara plane? Do you remember?
Jhana.
Yes, by jhana, no, by samatha meditation, no, by practicing jhana. Okay, so beings, when they practice samatha meditation, tranquility meditation, then if they attained a high stage of concentration, then they will reach different kinds of jhanas. So first jhana, second jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana. In this way, according to the jhana, then they attain and the quality of their mind, then they will be reborn into different realms of the rupa vachara realm. So for the first jhana, depending on the mental quality, beings are born into 3 different realms, and for the second jhana, 3 different realms, and the third jhana, 3 different planes there also, and the fourth jhana, 7 different planes here. So altogether there are 16 different planes, and according to the mind quality of the jhana, then beings are reborn there. Now, there's something strange here. Let's see if somebody finds. How many jhanas are there in the rupa vachara? Rupa vachara jhanas, how many? Remember? 4?
5.
5 jhanas, right?
4,
4,
5.
5.
Yeah, 5, no? So
A
5
few 5s, a few
jhanas.
4s.
Okay, so actually there are, let's remember how many jhana factors? Can we unmute everybody and see? Yes, 5 jhana factors. What are they?
Vitaka, Vichara, Piti, Sukha, Ekagata.
Yes?
So, initial application, sustained application of the mind, what we call thought, the process of thinking. Vitaka, Vichara, Piti, joy, inner joy, Sukha, happiness, and ekagata,
Equanimity
equanimity,
also, and
one stability of the mind. So for the jhanas to be the first jhana, only these 5 ingredients, mental ingredients, which are already beautiful, they are kusala. The mind is really stable. The negativity is really suppressed, temporarily suppressed. So the mind has possibilities to express itself, to show itself, and connect to higher grounds.
Mm-hmm. So there are 5 jhana factors. The first jhana in Abhidhamma method, in the Rupavachara planes, it is counted as 5 jhana, but in Sutta method is counted as 4 jhana. So both when you say 4 is correct. When you say 5 is correct.
Only from the lens of Abhidhamma 5, from the lens of Sutta 4. Because I will explain a little bit. There is Vitaka, Vichara, Piti, Sukha, Ekagata. The thing is, Abhidhamma separates one by one. When this one is gone, second jhana, third jhana, fourth, fifth, etc., etc. And in the Suttanta method, they take these 2 because these 2 constitute the thinking, what we call thinking, which is that the power or the ability of the mind to hold an object and investigate the object. And when it goes away, generally very few people can really be having clarity when one or the other one left. The 2 of them are counted together, so that's why in some of the cases are these 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, or the 5 separated in more detail as the Abhidhamma explained.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so as Bhante said, some people with very keen mind factors, then they dropped Vitaka and Vichara in the same time, also possible. Or some beings, they drop Vitaka, then keep Vichara, then later they practice more, then they dropped Vichara also, no? So in this case, here it is divided into the 4 jhana in the sense that, as Bhante said, the first 2, Vitaka, Vichara. So Vitaka, Vichara, Piti, Sukha, Ekagata, with these 5 mental factors attain the first jhana, no? Then Vichara, Piti, Sukha, Ekagata, second jhana according to Abhidhamma method. So these 2 is considered as the first jhana here in this case. So those beings that attained these 2 kind of jhana, they will be reborn into one of these 3 planes. That is in the first jhana level, no? Then the second jhana here with 3 planes is actually Abhidhamma method, the 3rd jhana. Clear, yeah? Yes? Okay, then the 3rd jhana here, okay? Yes?
Yes, no?
Yes, okay.
Yes.
So the 3rd jhana, Suttanta method is 4th jhana, Abhidhamma method. 4th jhana, Suttanta method, 5th jhana, Abhidhamma method. So there are different planes here. So here we are not going to go into every single realms here, but they are the beings, then they arrive there because of the different qualities of mind of their jhana. Okay, so we will only go into the 4th jhana, which is the 5th jhana of the Abhidhamma method, about these 7 planes, because there are something interesting there. So we're going to look at that. Okay, so in the 4th Rupavachara jhana, when beings they get this jhana and they passed away, and then they are reborn into 7 different kinds of plane depending on the mental quality. The first one, there is one that is called Vayaphala. Vayaphala meaning great result, and so beings can be reborn there. And the second one is called Asanyasata. Here is what is interesting.
Ya empezamos.
So, okay. Asanyasata. Sanya, remember what is sanya? Sanya is perception, yes? So, here means negation, negative. So, asanya meaning no sanya, no?
No sanya being.
But then you remember, sanya is a universal cetasika, no? So that means all kind of mind has the ingredient of sanya all the time. Yes, any kind of consciousness, any kind of chitta have sanya. So if there is no sanya, there is no other mind as well. No other cetasikas, no other chitta as well. So sanya is only like a representative. Sometimes they say, for example, if you are in primary 1A, let's say class 1A, so when the headmaster call, they don't call the name of the 30 people or in the class, no, like Jorge, Ana, Maria. So they don't call, they just call that class 1A, come here, no?
Salón, los
salón.
los de primero A, adelante.
And that in that way, the whole class, class A, 1A, they have to come together. So in the same way, then only class A is Sanya, is like the representative of the group of Maria come here, no? So Maria is like the representative of that group, but not everybody. But we understand when you call Maria, the whole group is coming. So not only a Maria. Okay?
Yeah.
So in the same way, that asanya here means without perception, but not only perception, without mind, exactly. Not even any kind of chitta, no chittasika, that comes together, no?
Perception being one of the most primordial ways for a mind to be connected and active. If we don't perceive nothing, the mind doesn't digest nothing. We must be getting input for the mind to be munching. That's why, in that sense, it is one of the most primordial, the most simple, just the fact that we can perceive, then later the thought and the reaction we have to it. In that case, for that kind of being, if there is no perception, he's not perceiving nothing. What is he thinking about? He's not even feeling, getting input from nowhere. That's why it's one of the characteristics, taking one ingredient as a main.
So sattva means being. So asanya sattva means being without mind. So these
without
beings,
perception, technically without perception, but without mind. We will
exactly say. Without no chittas arises in them. So only rupa arises in them. So they are kind of like a statue. Our teacher says, but they are alive. They are statue and no mind. So this is a little bit strange to understand because we are mind beings. We are beings with mind, so it's difficult to understand. But
imagine if we could give a closer to home example, a being in coma. The body is alive, is alive, but apparently the mind is absent. In that case, really there is no mind. In the case of a person in coma, yes, as we saw last week, there's some kind of processes already happening because the body continue alive, and the body needs the mind to be doing something. Yes. For it. But in that case, there is the consciousness from previous life gets suspended. Only the person gets only like a rupa for a very long time, kind of time wasted. And then when the lifespan of that being finishes, that people died and reconnects with where the consciousness got paused before. So I think you are going to why people get there. Are we seeing that today?
Yes. Now, actually, I'm going to explain a little bit more so you can understand a little bit better about these beings. Now, some background information. In the times of the Buddha also, the beings, they could arrive there. Actually, in Jainism, in that kind of that
still
religion,
present at this time, Jainism?
Yes, that asanyasata state is what they call nirvana. So for their religion, they think that to arrive to a no-mind state is the ultimate goal. But actually, according to the Buddha's teaching, it is not the ultimate goal.
Careful.
For some beings, it is what they are looking for.
Yeah.
But the only thing is that asanyasata is just another kind of being. They will, when they die, when their lifespan finished, they will be reborn again. So it is nothing is forever, no. And another point important is that in the time when the people practice samatha meditation, and then they think, we suffer so much. Some people have different ideas. Some people think, we suffer so much because of the body. No, so when they practice jhana, some people say, this body is really the source of suffering. If there would be no body, then there would be only mind. That would be so nice. That would be so cool. So we don't get sick, and then we don't not become like that. We can understand
aversion towards the body.
We can understand this kind of idea, no? So if the person, he has this kind of idea, and he keep practicing, and so his mind already has the tendency of not wanting the material quality. So in this case, if the person, he arrived to a very high stage of samatha meditation, then he get the fifth jhana, then he might be reborn into the arupa realm, no? The realm when he will be reborn according to his own tendency, what his mind is looking for. He will be reborn into the plane where material quality does not exist, only mind exists, because that's what he or she wish for. The mind has tendency.
He has an inclination towards disliking the body, so either there are more possibilities of just getting there, but also it happens on the opposite case.
On the other hand, there are beings who think that oh, actually the mind is the source of suffering. The body is just fine. They are fine. But because of this mind, and I'm happy, I'm unhappy, I'm angry, and so this mind is never stop, and it is thinking about this, thinking about that. So the mind is the source of suffering. The body is fine. Well, we can also understand this kind of idea. So if the person, they have this kind of tendency and this kind of idea, then they practice and then they wish to be reborn in a place where mind does not exist anymore. So if they arrive to such concentration, such kind of jhana, then they might be reborn into a place where mind does not arise, which is this plane. This is the asanya satta plane. Because of the fifth jhana, mind is so powerful. So according to the idea or the wish or tendency or inclination of the mind, then it is where the being will be reborn, they will arrive there. Does it make sense?
¿Cómo sienten? How is the feeling until now with the information we have seen? These kind of beings, we have spoken about them before a little bit, but this kind of being only body, because of the disgust they feel towards the mind, it is possible. So, warning, my dear family, that the teachers give, be very careful with what one wish, because if the mind has the tendency and the potentiality is present, it can become. So, as Charana just mentioned, the aim of Jainism very often is to arrive to that state, but teachers don't consider it to be a very auspicious way of being for two reasons. The mind is not working, so we cannot develop. And the lifespan is so long that maybe when they wake up from that moment, the Dhamma is not present anymore. Yeah. So they might wake up in the...
Actually, they don't wake up, they die from that life.
They die from that life. Yeah, better, thank you. When they die from that life, they take rebirth again, and then they might arrive in a place of darkness, and they have to wait very long or in the time of darkness without teaching. So the teacher says that it is not a auspicious place to continue developing oneself. So they warn the meditators to be very careful towards having aversion towards the mind. It is possible. We have experienced directly how we get angry when we are angry, for example. How we are upset for being sad again, or the mind can get aversion to itself. So if we happen to die at that moment, having aversion towards the mind, well, nature just give what is there present. So it is there are possibilities for generating wasted time or precious development in a state that will not yield any fruit for a long time, hoping that when we reconnect with another being, it is in good conditions. Who knows?
Okay.
How are we until here?
It's okay. Yeah.
¿Cómo estamos hasta aquí, querida familia, dear family?
Yeah, but we have 10 minutes. I want to finish with
okay,
this.
Let's finish and then we see.
I'll have a question.
Yes, who?
Ezequiel.
I mean, my understanding is that there's always cause and effect in the universe. There's nothing that lacks a cause. So when the sperm enters the egg, then the body is generated. But then the mind, because it cannot be generated there, it jumps from at the very last moment of the previous existence. So there's always there's no thing that vanishes into the air. I mean, the body, once we die, it becomes part of it becomes how do I say this? A supply for further life, right? It goes to be absorbed by the plants and what have you. Okay, so in this line, I mean, I have never been exposed to this concept of the asanya satta. It appears that the mind vanishes, which goes against the grain from what I have been hearing. So can you explain that for a second?
Yes. Yeah. The mind vanishes every moment. There is no one consciousness that goes from one life to another life. Actually, the mind arises and passes away immediately. Units. So that's called units of chittas. Yeah. So one chitta arises, it passes away, and then another unit of chitta arises and passes away. Another unit of chitta arises and passes away. So it vanishes all the time, actually. So the only thing happens with asaññasata is that there is no condition for mind to arise in this moment. So therefore, only rupa arises in this moment. And when the lifespan of this being finished, and there are conditions for mind to arise again, it will arise again.
The potentiality is still there. It's like having a seed without putting it into the ground. So you have the seed there, and you can spend 100 years with you, but no fruit will come. Once the conditions in that life, there are no conditions for consciousness to arise. So it will say, boop, there, the potentiality is there. Then we plant the seed on, boom, and magically after years and years will come back again, because it was all the time as a potentiality inside, but there were no conditions proper for it.
Yes, and also another very important point is that it is mind is not one thing. Like this is the main teachings of the Buddha, and we have to remember there is no self or no soul. So if we think that one consciousness will leave this body and then migrate to another body, that is a wrong concept according to the Buddha's teaching, because there is no one moving here and there. It's only arising and passes away, moment to moment. Chitta arises and passes. It's a process. So it's not a thing that moves from place to place. Nothing moves.
So thank you for this, Ezequiel, because it's clarifying for ourselves to be more precise by saying the following. In that kind of life, the conditions for consciousness are not complete. That's why consciousness does not arise. That doesn't mean that consciousness stay waiting somewhere or was a post or something. The conditions are not present. Potentiality is there, but then that kind of condition needs to move on. So then the conditions for consciousness to continue moving arise it was in the previous birth with aversion towards the mind, and will be in the previous when that pause, we can say it, I cannot say. These conditions are gone. Yeah, when the conditions arise again, the mind will go. That will be more clear. Thank you. Okay, my dears, let's go just a few more points, and then we touch base. Where are we? And then we close for today.
Okay, so after the asaññasata plane, and also here is actually mind is very powerful also, not to arrive to the fifth jhana or fourth jhana, Sutanda method, no? Sutta method fourth and Abhidhamma method fifth. No? Now, then there are Sudha Wasa, there are 5 pure abad here, 5 plane that is called Sudha Wasa. So totally 7, so 1, 1 and 5, 7. No? So this Sudha Wasa is also interesting because it is a place where only an anagami person will be born there. So that's why it is also called pure abad. And then as you might remember, an anagami, which is a non-returner, third stage of enlightenment, when in the third stage of enlightenment, what kind of defilements are being eradicated? Remember, no more sense desire, no more ill will. Yes? So only very tiny, small, tiny attachment or mana is and moha and ignorance is remained, and in the arahata level it will be totally eradicated. No, so in this anagami stage, the mind is already very pure, very, very pure. So since they have no sense desire at all, so it is impossible for them to be reborn in the sense realm. So they are always reborn into the fine material realm. And also for an anagami, so we asked our teacher, so that means all anagami have jhana in this case, no? Otherwise they won't be reborn there. Then our teacher says that for a person, for an anagami, if he does not attain arahaship in that very life, let's say he's a human being, if he's already attained the third stage of enlightenment as an anagami, then in that same very life he practiced again and he became an arahat. It is possible he doesn't have jhana. It's not necessary. He can attain nibbana, I mean the total liberation, arahanship in that very life, no problem. But if that person, he does not attained arahaship, the full enlightenment in that very same life, and he's going to pass away with the third stage of enlightenment, then because their mind is so pure, it is very easy, very inclined for them to come down. No? Do you remember that the 5 hindrances that are suppressed by jhana is sense desire, ill will, tinamida,
sloth and torpor, doubt, and worry.
No, and restlessness. No, so if if this quality are being suppressed and being attained jhana, concentration, if they just concentrate. So for the anagami, they have totally eradicated sense desire. They have totally eradicated ill will already.
Very easy.
So
Their mind is
so
already
easy.
there.
So they just stay and concentrate a little bit, then they arrive to jhana so easily because of the quality of the mind. So in that case, all anagami, if they don't attain full enlightenment in that very same life, they will be reborn into one of these 5 pure about in the and 5 material realms. Okay. Yes. Okay. So I think until here we have only the 4 non-material planes left, and I think we can go through because this is nothing complicated. So let's finish with this so we are in a good place to stop, and then next week we continue with more other information.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's go for material plane.
Arupa Vachara,
non-material planes. So here, how does being arrive there in the same way by samatha meditation practice, no? But this time, only the 5th jhana. And if you remember, the 5th jhana have only 2 jhana factors left, yes? Upekkha and ekagata. So equanimity and one-pointedness.
Wow, the mind is very, very pure. Nothing. I mean, not nothing, but just stability. Only by itself.
Mm-hmm. So for the arupa plane, the 5th jhana, the jhana itself, the jhana factors itself does not change, but what change is the object of meditation. No, now this we have seen it like some time ago, but just very briefly, they might take infinite space or the chitta that contemplated that infinite space. I mean, the first jhana, the first arupa, first arupa jhana, they take an infinite space. Second arupa jhana, they take the first arupa vachara chitta as the object, and the third one, the absence of the first arupa vachara chitta, and the fourth, neither perception or non-perception. Okay, wait. Here we are not going to go into details because we have already seen it. So please go to video number 14.
Number 14, you will find
14,
everything. We explore all of those details.
This, yes.
What kind of jhanas, what are the objects, mental objects that we as practitioners can do by ourselves and take those objects until we arrive to the no perception nor non-perception. The teacher says that it is so small, the functioning of the mind at that time, and it's so pure and stable that you cannot call it perception, neither non-perception. The mind is seeing something that is called really intriguing to arrive to that mental state.
Yes, simple example. We have already actually talked about this. When there is a bottle, then there is we just finished drinking water of the bottle. So if somebody asks you, is there water in the
is there
water?
Wine or wine?
Is there water in the bottle? Then you say no more. Yeah. But if a person asks you, is the bottle dry? No, it's not. Actually, there is water inside. So in that way, there is and there is not. You know? So this is neither perception nor non-perception in this way. Yes. Okay. So we're not going to explain these objects and the different because
video number 14.
Video number 14. So just
everything
go back there. If you need to remind yourself, just go back to video 14.
Wow, los guayabos.
Okay. So then, because of the different objects, so there are the 4 kinds of different planes here. So depending on the 4 different arupa jhana being arrived into these different realms, the name of these realms is actually according to the object of the meditation.
Yeah, that's why it's important to speak about the object, because from the object is where the Buddha described what kind of objects and mental activity the beings that born there are having and how did they reach there.
Mm-hmm.
Again, my dear family, bringing it all home, we have ability in this very human life to experience those mental states and reconnect with those realms. It's really
not reconnect. We cannot say like
reborn there. Sorry, yes, reborn in that realms. Amazing. Our potential is humongous.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's the 4 non-material realms. So here we have finished all the 31 plane of existence. Congratulations. And we have go through everything. Now, conclusion is nothing strange and nothing mysterious. It's just depending on the quality of the mind of the person, then the destination will be.
what you, as much as you put, as much as you get. Nature does not have sales, ofertas, nothing for free. Everything happens because of a reason, good and bad.
Conditions and
Conditions.
Conditions, cause and effect. No, so whatever quality of the mind, if it is because of a lot of akusala, then surely because of those resultant, then beings will be reborn into a place which is suitable for those kind of mind state. No, so just only the quality of mind that is matches the destination.
We come back to inner responsibility. We are the architects of our future. Literally, that is true. That is true. In this very moment, we are making the bricks for whatever realm we reconnect and what kind of life we do experience.
Yes, the Buddha also explained about all these different realms, because in the time of the Buddha, many people think that arriving to the Brahma realms is the final goal, that is the ultimate happiness. But even the Brahman themselves, since they live so long, billions of years, they think, oh, everything changed, I don't change. So I am forever, I am eternal. Yeah. So, but the Buddha said that even that kind of life
still inside samsara.
Yes, it is not free, because they are going to die and they're going to be reborn in another type of life as well. Not finished yet.
You remember that the highest god in Hinduism is called Brahma. A Brahma.
Brahman.
So the highest god is one of those, but they live for so long, and since they can create things just with the mind, I mean, we have heard that description. An almighty being that can create things and that live, it's eternal, according to their view. So many people and beings and worlds arise and pass away that they believe themselves to be a god.
Yes.
Because they create things, and so actually, if Hinduism has had contact with these kind of beings, they definitely to one of these Brahmas, which the Buddha comes and look from even higher grounds and says, wow, even them, they are still under the cycle of samsara. They don't suffer because of sickness, because they have no body, they have nothing to get sick, and they live for a very long time. They do have a very beautiful mental state, because their mind is very stable, and beautiful qualities arising because the negativities of that sensual desire instill in ourselves or pushes in ourselves is not present. That's why the confusion. So yes, they can consider themselves as God, but then the Buddha comes and says, my dear friends, with all respect, you are even to those gods or to God. The Buddha comes and says, you are not out of the cycle of samsara. When your credit for being in a Brahma life or a God-like life finishes, you can even fall to the lower realm still, as long as you are not have reached the first stage of enlightenment, which is Sotapanna, as we have said, is the only thing that closes the lower realms. At least we are safe from human, close the door. So from human up, we can develop for 7 lives more at most. So an arahant, let's get perspective. An arahant, which we have possibility to become, can reach a more refined, in terms of purity and wisdom, state than what are called gods, than the gods that are cherished and worshipped all over the world. Speaking in these terms, in terms of Hinduism, I know saying this in a Hindu, I said it with all respect, but it's just how the Buddha explained, and there are many stories when interactions of the Buddha and some Brahmas. And there is one story, if I remember well, that the Brahma feels all powerful, almighty, and then the Buddha comes to him. He knows there is a lot of mana, a lot of ego on that being, and knows that he's not seeing the whole spec of it, because he says, you see, I look to the back and I don't see the beginning. I look to the front and I don't see the end. The power is like this. So then the Buddha plays hide and seek with that Brahma. And then the Buddha says, okay, let's see if you can find me in the universe. So then they start making some kind of movements inside the Buddha, only in order to teach him. And then he hides, and the Brahma cannot find him. And then at some time the Buddha says, okay, now you find yourself in the universe to see if their limits are really, if it is really as you mentioned. Then the Buddha, then the Brahma disappears, move the mind. Remember that they're just dealing with mental activity. And suddenly the Buddha appears in front of him, and he says, yes, hello. And then the Brahma disappear, and then in the next moment the Buddha appears in front of them. Yes, it's like saying un dos tres por ti, no? And then they were playing, and then the Brahma realizes that all the power and all the things he thought about the universe and all the things that he was self-ascribing to himself, which we can see some of these qualities in the descriptions of gods. Like sometimes you can, I mean, they need worshipping, or there are some things that are needed to be required to keep them happy, as we thought in early stages of humanity, we needed even to make sacrifices to them. Yes, there are some of these qualities, but they are still not out of the cycle of samsara. Sooner or later, they will continue to experience dukkha in the sense of decaying, arising and passing away, and attachment. So, my dear family, let's get the scope and importance of our potential. We can go through and liberate from the cycle itself. This is what the Buddha is calling, not just to become a higher being, because we are still gonna be moving just, but when we die there, we might come down back again, as we have already done many times. Apparently, the teacher says unequivocally, and also in Mahayana sense, we have been father and mother of all of us already. We have been up and down many times. So hopefully we be liberated from the cycle of the samsara movement.
Okay, so that's it for today. And next week we are going to look at like what kinds of chitta rebirth consciousness
for each realm.
Yeah, which kind of rebirth consciousness.
My dears,
thank you so much, everybody.
We touch base or no?
If somebody wants to say something.
How are we? What are we bringing home? Let's be precise. Go to the point. Open your microphone. What are we bringing home? How do you see? How are we until now? Welcome. Yes.
Regarding the beings with no mind.
Asanyasata, yes.
Yeah, and the aversion to the mind.
Yes, be careful.
Yeah.
Be careful.
Well, you have to get fifth jhana, so don't worry too much.
And another thing is that I have noticed that it's very easy to confuse dispassion with aversion to
yes,
to
with
the mind.
Yes, be careful.
In an early stage of practice, I was thinking that I was experiencing dispassion, and no, it was a lot of aversion in all the process of the things, all the disliking of how things are, and disliking to interact with reality.
Yes.
So I was not like in a good state of mind, but I thought it was some kind of
dispassion.
And now it is very easy to get confused.
Yeah, very careful. Yes. Very careful. Let's remember that the real dispassion, is based on wisdom and equanimity. You just said, man, there is no use on continuing pursuing worldly gains if only old age, sickness, and death comes back. I better, instead of we stop following the worldly ways, outside external ways, and dedicate as much as we can. We still need to take care of our bodies. There is no other way. But we dedicate more energy and emphasis onto our inner cultivation without generating aversion towards the ways of nature. Very careful. Yeah. Very beautiful, fair, and very important that we speak about this, because it's very easily, we can confuse wisdom with aversion or wisdom with desire, and they are not the same thing. Or we can say that the wisdom can get covered, or we can say contaminated by negativity. Very important to recognize. Congratulations to have that point of view, and thank you for the reminder to all of us for keeping an eye not to confuse our detachment with aversion towards the ways of the world. Yeah, it must grow out of inner stability and goodness.
Yes, like compassion and anger also
can get polluted. Yes, or love can get polluted with attachment as well. So it is very easy for from kusala to change to akusala, and we can be tricked by nature. So that's why It is, my dear family, so important to know Abhidhamma and to know the different possibilities of the mind. So as we practice and apply, we are very sure where we are standing. Otherwise, we can be swimming in a direction that we might regret later on.
Yes.
And we thought it was perfect. So it happens in many, many spiritual development ways.
Yes, I want to share something that Sayadaw Tejaniya said, and it is very nice actually. He said that when we practice, so many people said, oh, dukkha, dukkha, oh, so much suffering, suffering. So yes, we understand suffering, no? But actually, he said when one really understands dukkha, there is a sense of freedom. You don't feel suffering when you understand suffering. You feel free when you understand suffering. So it is the difference between we really understand or we imagined we understand. So he said, so the feeling is different. So, and also since all kinds of akusala, we have a good alarm, because if there is restlessness, if there is udacha, then the mind is agitated, because only akusala, only udacha only associate with akusala. So if the mind is not feeling well, is not feeling calm, or like, so something
we can
is
be
wrong.
sure.
So if I so we can check the quality of the mind, whether it is really in the sense of freedom, being dispassionate to the mind, or to the
towards the
reality,
world,
to the world, or if there is aversion to the world.
Even with some degree of happiness, saying, man, the world is strange. No need to do such and such things. We need to look for some kind of inner freedom. That freedom is the flag. And wisdom will bring it. Wisdom brings it. It is actually, wisdom is pleasurable. And we need to take care now that it doesn't go to attachment. So, my goodness. That's why the Buddha says, Pajima Patipada, Majjhima Patipada. Middle way, keep on the middle, keep on the middle. Yes, it's beautiful. Yes, it's beautiful. Yes, it's ugly. Yes, it's ugly. It's ugly. Don't worry. Stay in the middle. Stay in the middle.
Ugly.
As it is, tatada. The way things are, the tatada. The way things are, as they are, I stay in the middle and stable. Gracias, Fer.
Thank you.
Somebody else who wished to share, what are we bringing home? How are we?
Just a few minutes.
Just a few minutes and go. Feel free. Welcome, my dears.
Everybody.
Nadie a la una.
Okay.
Nadie a las dos. Nadie a las tres, my dear family.
So we close.
Thank you so much. We continue in this adventure. May you be safe. May you be well. Your family, please send our best wishes and blessings. Be a blessing. Let's be a blessing for our families, for our communities, and the people that get in touch with us. And the best thing we can offer is our mental stability, maturity towards the ways of nature. Yes, everything exists, and the teachers never hide anything. They say there is dukkha in the world. So remember, and let's use this opportunity of suffering that we're experiencing to get more impetus towards cultivating ourselves and be free one of these days of the whole cycle of suffering. Hopefully we help as many people on the way. We can, without taking the vows, we can take the vow of serving others, and definitely there are many ways to do it, and we continue. My dear family, may we arrive soon. We remember all the people that is experiencing loss right now. There are thousands and thousands of people dying every day. It was like that, but now more than normal. There is many people having economic difficulties, and more that are about to come. So our stability is not a luxury anymore, my dear family. It's a must. Right now we must stabilize ourselves, because we might be part of it. And maybe even people that we know may be gone. So no problem. Nature is just like that. We make peace with it. No fear. Stability of mind. We think on our families. And may we have the wisdom to understand and make peace with nature. We remember all the people who is having difficulties at home. Unfortunately, home violence is growing because there is more tension. People is together. May all these kids, wives, or men be free from aggression, and may the limits be put on its place. Let's keep our eyes open towards our people around us, our neighbors, and if we catch something, together we can help not allowing things to escalate. Let's take responsibility of the information we consume and not be overwhelmed by so much negativity and fake information that is around. Let's choose well, stabilize, and may all the world in our community, our family, our country, continent, and all the countries around the world itself regain stability and be at peace. May all beings in the universe be well, healthy physically, healthy mentally, stable. All the blessings for our family. And we remember especially that those people who are having more difficult situation than us, that we know that they are suffering with fear, if we can do something, let's not hesitate. May the teaching continue guiding us. May wisdom prevail. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Through the goodness that arises from my practice, may my spiritual teachers and guides of great virtue, my mother, my father, and my relatives, the sun and the moon, and all virtuous leaders of the world, may those who are friendly, indifferent, or hostile, may all beings receive the blessings of my life. May they soon attain the threefold bliss and realize the deathless. Through the goodness that arises from my practice, and through this act of sharing, may all desires and attachments quickly cease, and all harmful states of mind, until we realize Nibbana in every kind of birth. May we have an upright mind, with mindfulness and wisdom, austerity and vigor. May the forces of delusion not take hold, nor weaken my resolve. The Buddha is my excellent refuge, unsurpassed is the protection of the Dhamma. The solitary Buddha is my noble Lord, the Sangha is my supreme support. Through the supreme power of all these, may darkness and delusion be dispelled. Amia, 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 Yuro mucha baguro, Sadhu, 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 Alo Jachadamia, Amia, 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 Yuro mucha baguro, Sadhu, 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 Alo Jachadamia, Amia, 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 Yuro mucha baguro, Sadhu, 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 Idano punyam nibanasa, Pacheyo hotu. Idano punyam sabasatanam pachima. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Muchas gracias, queridos. Todas las bendiciones, los mejores deseos, abrazos y abrazos digitales y en el corazón. Nos encontramos pronto. Seguimos en la aventura. Fuerza. Por acá vamos a seguir caminando. No tenemos intenciones de parar hasta donde aguante. Seguimos juntos. Muchas gracias por todo.
See you next week. Thank you, everybody.
I changed to Spanish. I
Gracias.
love you. I love you. Bye bye. Stay well. Good week. Best wishes for all the family. Bye. See you.
See you.
Yes,
Good
goodbye.
night.
Adiós.
Muchas gracias, bye bye.
Bye
Gracias,
bye, Don Edward. Bye bye todos.